After years of waiting, The Marvels is finally here. I have been waiting for this since the day it was announced a couple years ago, and wow, we are finally here. And having watched the film, I was not disappointed. It's not a perfect film by all means, I do have to say that, and we'll talk about its flaws because they do show. But man, do I love this movie. Do I love it more than not. I was thrilled, I laughed, the action was great. We'll talk about it, we'll go in depth. I'll talk about things revealed in the trailers, so in that way there will be mild spoilers, but yeah, and I'll have a separate spoiler part in the video. I'll announce it when I start talking about spoilers, you know, things not in the trailers. Let's go! First things first, the chemistry and the characters. I really think this is probably the best part about the movie, the spotlight that it gives its three leads and the chemistry that they all get to share. Let me just say, these women, these mothers, they all got to shine in this movie, and the dynamic that they have with each other really shines as well. Their interactions are great, and I think really that's one of the things that make these comic book team-up movies so fun, is to see how these heroes interact and react to each other, and the dynamic that the Marvels have in this movie is just, it's so eclectic. We have Carol's interesting dynamic with Monica, who sees Carol as this aunt figure, and Monica's kind of resentful of Carol after all these years that Carol has spent in space and being absent on Earth and not being around when Monica was growing up. I love that. I think it brought such a nice emotional weight to the film and such a nice emotional core to the relationship that the three of them have, not just Monica and Carol, but for the trio. Because the way Monica sees Carol does influence the way Carol sees Kamala. Carol was kind of this fun parent figure to Monica when Monica was younger, and Monica really looked up to Carol, and you see parallels of how Kamala and Carol's relationship is similar to that. This little girl who has this adult figure that they really look up to and want to be like, and Carol's way of being like a lone wolf and her isolation in space made her mess up her relationships with Monica, and now she's kind of being given a chance with Kamala to not mess up her relationship with this young girl who thinks the world of her, and not shut out people again. So I love that because not only is their dynamic, the three of them, not only is their dynamic lively and fun to watch on screen, but yeah, there's a sentimental undertone to it, you know, it's carried by this very solid emotional foundation. Carol's been a lone wolf all this time, and now she has a chance to build relationships. Monica's still kind of resentful towards Carol, and Kamala thinks the world of Captain Marvel. They all have such a fun and genuine connection, this chemistry that they have with each other. They actually feel like they like each other, you know? There's a lot of movies with groups of people that really just exchange quips and things like that, and they don't feel like actual friends who like each other, and you're left questioning of like, why are you guys a group if you sound like you hate each other? In this movie, they really sound like they like each other and they have fun with each other's company. At many points, the movie really feels like you're part of this friend hangout, and it's a friend group that really genuinely supports and adores each other.
We're a team.
Oh, no, we're not a team.
We're not a team.
And again, besides the dynamic that the three of them share, each one of the three of them gets to shine. Carol in this movie finally has more of a personality, and I love it. She's had a personality before, but it wasn't shown that much. It was in Captain Marvel, her fun personality was in Captain Marvel, but it wasn't shown as much. And her personality is really not that shown in any of the Avengers film that she's appeared in. But in here, Carol is more of a character. She's great, she's fun, and in many ways, and I mean this in the most adoring and complimentary way, even though she's like one of the strongest people in the universe in this movie, she's kind of a mess and a struggling girl failure, and I mean that in the most adoring, best sense. I really, really love that because she feels more of like an actual real person. She's a badass, yes, but she's also struggling and just trying her best, and it makes Carol so relatable and real. She's shut people out, and she's like a lone wolf. She has this ship trying to take care of a cat, and in here, you actually hear Carol admit that it's nice to have people in her ship again, and she actually enjoys being able to spend time with a team like this. My only criticism with Carol in this movie is that I want more. Like, I've seen it. I see Carol, and I want more of it. I want more Carol. This movie could have used 30 more minutes to give us more of the characters, and we'll talk more about that later in my criticisms for the movie. Because again, I like this movie, it's not perfect, and I want more of it. And I want more of the good parts, specifically. Brie Larson definitely gets to shine better here. I've always loved her as Captain Marvel. I mentioned that in my best things about Captain Marvel video, and if you want to check that out, also while we're at it, if you're enjoying this video so far, please give a like or a comment. I'm a small channel, and it'll help me out a lot. But yeah, she's great. Brie is great as Carol. I really like her. I'm glad glad they gave her more here. Monica was also really great in this movie. I just love Teyonah Parris' portrayal of her. I've been a fan since WandaVision, and this movie has just made me more of a Monica fan. And when it comes to the power scalings in the group, I love that in this movie, Monica and Carol are kind of the big guns. I mean, naturally, since, you know, Kamala's still a child.
That's a child!
But, I mean, I like that the movie is not shy about making it seem as if, you know, that Monica might actually be on the same power level as Carol, as Captain Marvel. Like, the movie shows, and a lot of times, the two of them, Monica and Carol, teaming up together in a fight. Like, I noticed it's the two of them as kind of like the representatives of the big guns in the trio. And I really like that they're shown as probably equally powerful. I don't know if it's confirmed or anything, but it gave me that impression. And I like it because, you know, the filmmakers could have structured this team as like, well, Captain Marvel is the leader, and she's the most powerful one. So Monica and Kamala have to take a step back so Carol could have the spotlight because she's the strongest one. But no, the movie didn't go in that direction. If there's anything that needs fighting, Monica and Carol team up to face it. And again, I love it because there's so many superhero teams where there's just one person who could solve everything. And it's like, why have a team if that one member could just fix it all? I'm glad that power set wise it seems that Monica and Carol are on equal footing. And I have no doubts too, if Kamala wasn't a literal child, I think she'd be framed in the same way too. She'd probably join in all of those fights. But if she did, I think Monica and Carol's responsibility would be questioned. Like, why are you putting this child in danger? So I'm glad actually that they're like, stay back, Kamala, stay back, you're a child. I like that. Kamala only really fights and is active in the movie when it's necessary. I also really appreciate Nia DaCosta's work on the character. There was an interview with her saying she was constantly watching Ms. Marvel throughout its production to see what it was doing with the character of Ms. Marvel. So no doubt, I'm sure she also watched WandaVision to make sure she could portray Monica properly in this film. And it's evident, because Monica is still Monica from WandaVision, but she's a Monica that has gone through WandaVision, not a Monica that is repeating her arc from WandaVision. Yeah, she lost her mom in WandaVision and she was grieving that, and she was processing that, and that's mentioned here too, but she's not going through the same arcs she did in that show. And I bring that up because while it's the bare minimum, it's been brought up many times by many fans, and Elizabeth Olsen herself said it, how Wanda practically goes through the same arc in WandaVision and in Multiverse of Madness, because the writers and the team on Multiverse of Madness did not watch WandaVision, so Wanda goes through the same arc again. She goes through loss, using magic to cope with loss, hurting innocent people, and ultimately accepting her grief and her loss twice in succession. So thank you to Nia DaCosta. She did a great work for Monica and Kamala, really studying the characters and avoiding them from going through repetitive arcs. One criticism that I have about Monica is that sometimes in the movie, the writers use her as an exposition machine, and I like that Monica's the smartest in the group. She's kind of like the scientist in the group, right? But there's a way to do that without making her sound like an exposition info dumper. Guys, please. I hope they finesse that writing for those exposition parts. Like, yeah, she could be the smartest one in the group. Do it in a way that does not make her sound like a writer's device, you know? Exposition is necessary, yes, and there's a way to do it without making Monica sound like not Monica, but a writer explaining things to the audience.
Hi.
We're looking for Kamala Khan.
Next is my bestie, Kamala. I love her so much. I wasn't a fan of her series that much, but I did like her. So you can say that I'm more of a Miss Marvel fan than I am a Miss Marvel series fan. But yeah, Iman is so great in this role, and Kamala's energy, her happiness, and her adoration for Captain Marvel really brings a bright and funny tone for the film. Maybe it's just because I like Kamala, but she never came across as annoying to me. Because like, maybe this is a controversial opinion, but I do like Tom Holland, and I do like his Spider-Man. But I remember in 2016 watching the airport fight in Civil War and thinking, oh, can he just shut the fuck up already? I get that Spider-Man's supposed to be loud and quippy, and this is his big Marvel debut, but I was like, you know, this is a Captain America movie. This is supposedly a fight where the Avengers turn on each other and break up. Why is this becoming a Spider-Man film? Why is there a Spider-Man spotlight in the middle of a Captain America Civil War film? There was a point in that airport fight when he told a joke and I was like, oh, this is too much. And then he told another joke and I was like, okay, we can calm down in the Spider-Man now. And then he told another joke and I was like, can he just shut the fuck up already? And again, I really like Tom Holland's Spider-Man films, I do. I like my quippy Spider-Man too, I love him in the Insomniac games, but the Civil War airport scene was not the place to stop everything and showcase him. Time and place. It was too much. They could have cut 2 or 4 of his lines because I was getting fed up. And maybe that's just me. But anyway, I never felt that way about Kamala. I really liked Kamala, but that's probably because this film is called The Marvels and she's a lead and I was expecting to see her because she is one of the Marvels. If this film was called Fantastic Four and they gave her the Spider-Man Civil War treatment and had her cracking jokes, while I'm fully expecting to watch more of the Fantastic Four, I would probably hate her too. But we will never know. The point is, Kamala, she is my child. She's up there with Netflix's Aang. I adore them both, and I am their ride or die. But yeah, all three leads in this film were great, and this was just a team up done right, I think. Next is the action. The action in this film really stood out for me. The hand-to-hand combat choreography, I have to say, it's fierce. The camera work too that goes with it, how it's directed, how it's shot, it's really good visually speaking. But I do have to say that yes, as much as I enjoyed the hand-to-hand fight choreo, I really liked it, I do wish we got more larger scaled spectacles for this film. It's still in the movie, but there's not as much. It's kind of Carol's trademark to fly through big ships and blow them up. Maybe they were afraid of making it repetitive, but it has become kind of her signature move, and I really wanted to see her just messing and wrecking spaceships up. Maybe even Monica could help, and Kamala could help too in messing spaceships up. Sort of like a rite of passage to become one of the Marvels. But yeah, I love the action. I wish there were more larger scaled ones, because it's a space adventure. But what we had was great. What we had was really great. And while I'm all in for an intimate, smaller scaled fight with a lot of tension, like the one we got in Civil War, we had Cap and Iron Man fighting it out while Iron Man was trying to kill Bucky. I really loved that. It was more smaller scaled, but it felt really tense and personal. There's really not that level of well-established conflict and not any type of that emotional connection between Carol and her villain in this film to warrant that kind of a fight scene. I mean, there's some emotional connection, sure, but it's really not explored well enough. So while the fight choreo is fierce, it doesn't really land emotionally as well as it could. It doesn't land emotionally as well as the Civil War finale because the tension and the underlying feelings, the stakes, they're just not as established that well. There's not that much of a foundation. So in some ways, you're watching this smaller scaled fight and thinking, that's it? Next is the tone. Again, as many others have mentioned, this film is really fun, like crowd-pleasing fun. It's an adrenaline rush. The tone is really great. It feels like an actual comic book. It's energetic, it's vibrant. It's like a road trip but in space with a really cool friend group. And you know me, my favorite type of humor is the silly, unserious, and stupid humor. And this movie has some of that. See, there's a way of doing this type of humor without compromising the emotional bits of a film. There's a sequence with Goose that's so funny, and the switching that the Marvels do is really fun. The movie also just looks good, especially in a lot of the space parts. I do think that recently there's been a conscious effort in Marvel films to up their visual aesthetics after they've been criticized a lot for it. And while they don't always succeed, I think they are trying more and more. And you can tell sometimes that there's an effort, that they're trying. There's a lot of really nicely lit and awesomely composed shot in this movie. The colors, especially a lot of like the space shots, I love them. Yeah, all in all, I love this movie more than I liked the first Captain Marvel film. I do. It's a really fun film. They should call it The Mothers. But moving on, I do have some criticisms. It's a fun film, but it isn't a perfect film. Especially at the start, because it starts kind of weird. The pacing and the build-up in the first part of the movie, it's weird. I think it's because the movie is jumping around, introducing 3 different characters and trying to establish the switching that they go through. It's trying to introduce them to the audience and also trying to introduce the idea that they're connected now somehow and they're gonna switch. But yeah, the beginning I would say is kind of erratic. I don't know if what I'm gonna say makes sense, but I'm gonna try to describe it as best as I can. Overall, in the big picture of the film, the start is slow, and it just feels fast. It's slow in terms of the overall plot, but in terms of actual cuts from people to scenes, it's fast and erratic, so it feels and looks fast, but in the overall scheme of the film, it's actually quite a slow start. Another one of my criticisms is the pace. I'm all for a tightly paced film. I'm all for a short, tight film. But there were definitely moments in this movie, especially in the latter half, when I was like, whoa, calm down. Slow down. We need more time to breathe here, and we just need more in general for this thing to hit better. Because, you know, especially in emotional scenes in the movie, there was one emotional moment in this film when I was really like, oh my god, calm down. It felt like the movie was trying to speed run through this emotional scene, and I was like, this is emotional. We need this scene to hit. We need to feel this. Calm down. And the movie was like running through. I'm like, this is emotional. You need to take your time, let these emotions land. And the movie was just bulldozing through the scene. It was like, yeah, well, we're getting through this. And I'm like, I'm strapped in the front seat, yelling and begging it to slow down, and it just didn't. But to the film's credit, it never feels exhausting. Like a lot of the Transformers movies have so much, they just go so high in terms of energy and scale and scope. and you just get exhausted, but this movie never feels exhausting. Once it starts to ramp up, it does ramp up, but it does slow down enough for you to take a breath every now and then, but I don't think it slows down enough for you to really feel and let the emotions simmer in you. But then again, maybe it's not meant to be as much of an emotional film. Maybe they did mean to speedrun through those scenes just so they could get to the action scenes faster, but I just think that the action scenes would hit better, emotionally resonate better, if we got a better emotionally resonating scene before them. And now these are the spoiler parts. If you haven't seen the movie yet, come back to watch this, or if you just don't care, I don't know. It's your life. Thank you. Building on what I said earlier about sometimes the pace of the film, I really needed more time to breathe in a lot of the emotional scenes. Specifically, there's the defeat on Aladna. We needed to feel more of that. We need to feel down and low to make emotional peaks and valleys. And, especially because this is in like the 2/3 of the film, so we're leading into the finale. Like, we really needed the defeat, I feel. We needed the defeats to pile, because we'd already lost before. And maybe that was why they kind of sped through the defeat after Aladna, I think, was because they maybe felt it would be repetitive to the defeat that we felt after Carol failed to protect the Skrulls. But I just wanted more of Carol, showing us more of Carol's character and how she reacts to failing Aladna. I mean, she does still go through the defeat here. She's still really upset about it, but I just feel like I wanted more of it. The ending, the finale would have been so much more fiercer if we just could see that Dar-Benn has really hurt Carol and has really, emotionally affected her. I also really wanted Kamala seeing more of Carol's less than ideal side. I mean, Kamala really idolizes Carol, and there was a scene where Carol ordered Kamala to stop saving Skrulls because they just need to save who they can and they don't have enough time. Kamala seeing Carol leaving Skrulls to die, I think that was pretty dark and intense. I thought they were gonna do a lot with it. They did something with it, but they didn't do as much as I'd hoped they would. Maybe that's something that they could explore more in the future. Kamala really looks up to Carol, and I thought that was just such a brilliant scene. Again, I want more. I keep saying that I'm seeing the parts in this film that I think are brilliant and great, and I'm like, we need that. We need more of that. We need more of that. As I mentioned before, the final fight is fierce, but I think it could have been fiercer if I keep saying fierce. I'm stuck. But I think it would have been better if we had established the stakes better and made the fight bigger. They were on Earth, stealing the Earth's sun, but you never feel like, oh no, we're gonna die. It's the Earth. They're stealing our sun. There was never a feeling of like, oh no. You never felt that. You never felt the stakes. That the stakes could actually, be at risk. And the end scene happens so fast, too. They get to Earth, and Dar-Benn's there, and she's out stealing the sun, and they fight, and that's it. There's not a lot of emotional investment and emotional resonance there. They're just fighting. And it's a really fun fight, mind you. I just think it could have been finessed in terms of the writing. I also really wanted to see more of Carol's past as the Annihilator. She went to the Kree, she did a revenge, she feels that she made a mistake in doing that. I wanted to see more of that because I think that would have also better established her connection with Dar-Benn, because Dar-Benn's backstory and her motive, I think, was really wasted. They could have done that better. It's there, the potential for Dar-Benn's backstory and her motive. It's not a bad motive and not a bad backstory, but it just wasn't executed in a way that could have made it just great. Show us exactly how much the Kree are suffering, how desperate Dar-Benn is because of something that Carol did. They played Dar-Benn more evil-y in this film. They could have played her more desperate and more relentless to save her planet, but she felt more of a twirling mustache evil villain than someone who's desperately gonna do anything to save her people, to save her planet, and just, as an aside, take revenge on Captain Marvel. She's saving her planet, she's saving her people in her mind. She should feel like someone who's giving her all to save the people that she loves and the planet that she loves. But she comes across, again, more as someone who just wants to destroy other planets and spread evil. Her desperation and her desire to save her home doesn't read that well in the movie. It doesn't feel like it's portrayed well enough for you as the audience to really feel that. When it could have been really special, I think. She would do anything and sacrifice anything in her mind to save her home and her people. Because the best villains are the villains that think they're heroes. This Dar-Benn in this movie just doesn't feel that way. And also Fury, I'm kind of disappointed with how they handled Fury in this movie. I definitely like the scenes he had with Goose, but they could have done more with Fury. I mean, I'm fine with silly here now, but this is Nick Fury, the guy who previously was trying his best to convince the World Council not to nuke New York. The guy who discovered that something might be wrong with S.H.I.E.L.D. and it might be infiltrated by Hydra, so he faked his own death. You know, he had a lot of better plot lines in the past, but now he's stuck with a space cat, which again, I'm not mad at that. I think silly is fine every now and then. I like silly Fury. It just feels like he was wasted in this movie, especially because, you know, I think he could have aided Carol. I think he could have helped Carol, helping her reconcile with her past as the Annihilator, because, you know, Fury's done dark things in his past. He is a spy. He's done some things that he's not proud of. His relationship with Carol could have been better explored because, you know, Carol is his friend. He could help her live with the things that she's not proud of. Also, Secret Invasion feels like it never happened. I don't know if I'm thankful for that or weirded out, but I think that's nice. Another spoiler is that I liked Valkyrie in this movie. She was here. I like it. And the last point that I want to say is just like, poor Skrulls. You guys, these Skrulls have been through so much. Marvel, Kevin Feige, please give them peace. They've been through a lot. These Skrulls, these refugees, please just give them some peace. They've been through a lot. And yeah, all in all, I really enjoyed The Marvels. It was such a fun movie. Definitely did not disappoint me. I liked it more. Again, I liked it more than I liked the first Captain Marvel movie. I'm really excited for these characters. I want them to work together. I want to see more of them. I wanted more out of this movie. I'm satisfied by it, and it met my expectations, but I want more. I think the dynamic that the three characters have with each other is so special, and it'd be a waste if we never see them again. This was great. I had fun. What did you think about The Marvels? Please comment it down below. I want to talk about it. Let's discuss it. And if you like this video, again, please like it. It would help me out a lot. And I don't know, subscribe maybe. That's it. I'm out.